What is the worst thing you have done to have sex? I once had a fuck buddy that clearly was in love with me. She was overly attached and was getting very fussy, so I suddenly chose to ignore all her phone calls and SMS to get rid of her. She clearly was upset, as I could understand from her last SMS, which told me what a douchebag I was, etc. A few months passed by with no contact, and one time while being drunk, I wanted to get laid. I messaged this girl and asked her to come over. She then asked me what the fuck I wanted and why I had been ignoring her. I then told her, out of pure horny, that my dad died when I broke contact with her, and the reason to the ignore was because I was in a deep depression and could not talk to anyone. She came right over and I fucked the shit out of her. After that one time, I went to ignore again, never spoke to her since. I feel bad. TLDR, in some way I said that my dad died to get laid. My dad is alive. Yep, this one takes the shame cake, with icing made with tears of desperation and heartbreak. You don't use dad/mom when using the dead excuse. You go with an already dead grandparent or made-up close friend. Having been in a similar position to the girl, you probably fucked her up pretty good. After being used and manipulated for sex and other things, including a place to live. Over the course of a year, I still haven't really recovered. I hope the sex was good enough to justify what you've probably done to her. I guess upvotes for honesty, but it was a really shitty thing to do. He's probably used his child's death as pussy ammo himself. Edit, Reddit Gold. You are too kind. Obligatory highest rated comment being about pussy statement here. I don't really know if I should upvote this one, since it's definitely the best answer to Opie's question. HS. I was out with a friend I had a crush on, and apparently she had felt the same way. But we're awkward teenagers and not sure how to handle it. Cloudy night, and she was grumbling about how the night sky was ugly. I told her it looks like this because all the stars ended up in your eyes. And it was on. Oh man, if I said that to my girlfriend, she would make fun of me forever. Girlfriend keeps around forever. Is that not mission accomplished? My fuck buddy of 6 months one day said she didn't just want to be a fuck buddy and wanted more. Told her she was now my girlfriend just to shut her up and get it in. We're now married and have a kid. Huh, she got you go. Daddy, tell me the story of how you asked mommy out. Well, son, I wanted to put it in her, but she had her Myrina taken out because we decided to have a kid. After about 6 months of trying and no baby, we had another talk and decided we changed our mind. Started having sex with a condom again. She parked her car at his house, and he drove to dinner. While at dinner, he called and had her car towed so that she was forced to spend the night. Stay classy. Well, not entirely on topic, but I once had sex with a girl so I could play on her piano afterwards. That's the worst thing I've done to play piano. She saw it as a chance for us to get back together. And let's just say it didn't turn out well. I hate myself sometimes. Girl here made an OkCupid account on the pretext of going on dates. I get about 25 to 50 unique hits and 10 to 20 messages per day, depending on how active I was. I'd pick a guy, or more, each week and set up a date. I'd give him my Google Voice number for texting, depending on where he wanted to go. These guys were into Rural Park. They sometimes wanted to go to really, really nice restaurants. Afterwards, we'd end up at his place, never mind, get it on? I'd leave the next morning after agreeing to future dates and whatnot. I'd block him on OKC, so I wouldn't get any messages and delete the contents of my Google Voice every month or so. The majority of guys that I met on that site really were looking for love, and I took advantage of them. I stopped when I had an epiphany and realized that I was lucky I hadn't ended up dead in a ditch somewhere or riddled with STDs. I test clean and have been in a monogamous relationship for the past 6 months or so. We didn't meet on OKC. He doesn't know I did that. Edit. Some people wonder if it would not be more obvious to say I want a one-night stand up front. A very good point. As a woman, it is frequently more difficult for me to orgasm, and culturally sex ends when the man ejaculates. A one-night stand is more likely to roll over and pass out when he comes, whereas a guy hoping for emotional involvement is going to do his damnedest to get me to orgasm. A second note, if I may, is to say that the reason I did not formally inform them of my decision to immediately discontinue communication is due to verbal abuse, threats of physical violence. and the begging/pleading that I'd get as a response, because I didn't feel like it, became the supportive BFF of a girl in my Spanish class in college, knowing that her boyfriend was going to be shipping out with the military a few weeks later. The night he left, we hung out. Got drunk on tequila shots, my idea. I played on her emotions to get her into bed. Her name was Jennifer, and I regret it. Called my ex-BF, at the time, a pussy if he didn't come to my house. He can't stand that word. It was 3 a.m. I knew he'd have sex just to prove he's not a pussy. He's a pussy. I invited a guy I was dating over to watch a movie, even though I knew the file was corrupted and the movie wouldn't play properly. So you'd think we had sex? No, because the guy was a motherfucking engineer, and he proceeded to download and install the latest version of the VLC player, then a good version of the movie, until he got everything right. We watched the movie, then he went home. Fuck. Drunkenly cheated on a really great woman who was very much in love with me, and I with her, who would be devastated if she found out, which she later did, ruining a great relationship for both of us. Totally random and pointless drunken stupidity, and one of the worst things I've ever done. Aside from family, I don't think anyone has ever loved, cared about, and trusted me as much as her before or since, and I hurt and betrayed her worse than I have ever any other person, for nothing. I still remember the look on her face and the way she broke down when I told her. Almost 2 years later, I regret it almost daily. My friend, who was visiting from New Zealand, and I met 2 girls in Chicago at a late-night bar. I faked a New Zealand accent, and we pretended to be cousins. Girls loved it. We went our separate ways that night, and I continued the accent into the morning. Edit. I should add that the next day my friend was laughing at how bad my accent was and how it sounded Australian. Also, at one point, the girls started to catch on and asked, "You guys sound a little different." My buddy made the save and said he was from the coast and I was from the inland. Never questioned it again. Edit 2. Just so this is not left as a cliffhanger, we talked for like 10 minutes in the morning, then I left like a bat out of hell. Never saw or talked to her again. No regrets. My roommate has to fake an Australian accent every time he sees a girl he hooked up with. He ate breakfast with her roommate in the morning and had to make up a bunch of bullshit about Australia while sober, because it would break her heart to find out her one night stand isn't everything he said he was. Went to a bar with my buddy, trying to break a dry spell. I start chatting with this girl and bought her a drink. Yada, yada, yada. She's into me and lives a few blocks always. But she's with her not so attractive, slightly plus size friend that is trying to break a dry spell as well. So basically this chick is telling me that if I want her, my buddy has to hook up with her friend. So it's 10 minutes of me begging my buddy to take one for the team and offering him whatever I can. Like a true bro, he eventually agrees. My buddy says it was the worst sex he ever had, and the worst part was her large Mickey Mouse tattoo on her stomach. As he was pounding her, the fat-filled tissue with the mug of his favorite childhood Disney character was jiggling around like a jello mold. I've owed him many favors since that night. DM, HS, TLDR. I begged my buddy to knock a 5 and have the worst sex ever so that I could end my dry spell. My best friend was dating this psychopath who cheated on her multiple times before she dumped him. A few weeks later, he kept trying to get back with her. She turned him down every time. So instead, he asked if they could have one last night of passion, exact words, together to get over her, and he would leave her alone. She jokingly told him, "Yeah, if you tattoo my name on your ass." He did. Showed her the next day. Did he get his night of passion? No, not sex. But anyways, I was at the courthouse with my ex getting the divorce finalized. I picked her up, so we go for lunch as the court had lunch break, and we're in the car talking, and I start sweet talking her, saying, "You never know 10 years down the road, blah, blah." She leans over, starts full out making out with me. It led to me going down on her in the car, and a fantastic BJ, where she got cum on her fancy blouse and pants only to have to go back in the courthouse to sign the papers to end it all. I wish I could say I felt bad, but I have no soul, and she put me through hell. Throwaway. So I had a fairly long relationship with a girl, about a year or more. Lots of ups and downs. Eventually I got cheated on. We broke up, but she kept trying to keep in contact. Got back together. Yes, it was a mistake, Then I learned about other cheating that happened before and broke it off again. So then she keeps trying to keep in contact, annoying me, showing up uninvited to parties. She's also managed to get in good with people I know. But anyway, by this time, I've been single for a while and was out drinking. She was not of drinking age. Being drunk, dumb, and horny, I texted her that I missed her. She shows up at the bar I assume because she asked one of my friends where I was. So, end up at my friend's house. Go up to his video game room and proceed to put it in her. But next day, she got all clingy, had breakfast with her, and dropped her off at her place, and then proceeded to ignore her except for telling her that I'm not interested in anything else happening. I felt a little bad, but I got closure, revenge, whatever you want to call it. DR called up an ex who cheated on me so that I could put it in her butt. In my first relationship, we decided to get a little adventurous one weekend when I was home from college. We rented a hotel room. I tied up my GF, blindfolded her, walked across the street to a Wendy's, bought dinner, came back, and fingered her while feeding her Frosty. It was the most awkward experience of my life. But damn it, she loved it. I used to hook up with a girl, and then for some reason that ended. She told all her friends not to hook up with Party Pooper Party, but they only knew my name, had no idea who I actually was. One night a bunch of her friends were over and hanging out, and this one girl was pretty into me. All of a sudden she said, "Wait, you aren't Party Pooper Party, are you?" I said, "No, that's my roommate. My name is Bob." So the whole time, she was bitching at my roommate for being an asshole to her friend while she was all over me. We then had sex, and right after I finished, I said, "My name isn't Bob, it's Party Pooper Party," and I kicked her out of my bed and made her go home. Senior year of high school, one of my buddies starts talking to this sophomore chick and asks how much money he would have to pay her to give him a blowjob. She says, "I don't know, like $20, to which my friend responds, "What about $15? At this point, my buddy proceeds to talk her down to $5, $3 up front, and the other $2 if it's good. He only gave her $3. Some guy at a party was telling everyone that I was giving out ecstasy with cyclobenzaprine. So this girl comes up and asks if she can have a pill. I glad oblige, and she grabs my hand and drags me to the beer pong table, and after about 20 minutes, she said she felt it kick in and dragged me off into the wild pink yonder. She also ended up sucking my buddy off in her car, so there's that. Well, even if you're handing out muscle relaxers, those can still put you in an altered mental state. So maybe she didn't know what X was supposed to feel like. I remember someone else on Reddit once said they put nicotine patches on their girlfriend while they had sex in order to get her addicted to him. Can't remember what thread it was, but I'm pretty sure it was an askreddit thing. But IMO that takes the cake. I told this girl I'd take her to our formal if she climbed in my loft. Didn't take her to formal. I can hear the sorority girl now. Ugh, this guy told me he'd take me to their formal if I climbed into his loft. So I did, and, we sexed or whatever. And you know what happened then? He didn't invite me. Can you believe that? Hope he didn't deliver. What a faggot. I had the inverse happen to me. I was set up by a friend's girlfriend with one of her sorority sisters at the winter formal. I drove all the way from upstate New York to Boston to take her out, but when I did, she was so hung up on some other dude she banged 2 weeks ago that she didn't talk to me the whole night, and I was just sit. ING there in a suit and tie talking to a bunch of people I didn't know because I didn't want to bother my friend and his girlfriend the whole time. I still had a good time though. Meeting new people is always fun, even if the night doesn't turn out the way I'd hoped. I don't regret this. I was fooling around with a girl, and she had to leave for work soon. She got up to check the time on my computer and said we had enough time. My screensaver freezes the image when it turns on, so it was actually 20 minutes later. We finished, she got up and checked an accurate clock in confusion. I played dumb. Doesn't matter, had sex edit. It was the bubbles one. My screensaver freezes the image when it turns on. That sounds like the opposite of a screensaver. Yeah, we can definitely go out on a date soon. Yeah, I'll give you a lift home in the morning. Yeah, I have loads of booze back in a flat. I'm not that type of guy. I'll definitely text you. Went to a club with a friend. Trolled the club for someone to have sex with. Left my friend standing in the club while I left to have sex with a girl. Fucked her. Came back to the club and picked up my friend to head home for the evening. I didn't even make an effort to get to know her, and she wasn't what I'd call hot. Impeccable time management skills, though. Speaking of the club, gather round, kids, and let me tell you a tale of two boobies. So I was fucking this bitch in the ass, right? No, I'm kidding. I was at this gay club that I used to go to. I'm straight, but my friends used to love gay clubs, and this place is fucking packed. At first it was cool. Then it wasn't because I couldn't see anyone coming. This girl apparently is scoping me out, found this out later from a friend, and she approaches me and asks to dance. I'm like, yeah, sure. Drunk. We start dancing, and she's pretty hideous. Keeps shoving my face in her tits. Like I was getting some serious neck injuries from my head being jerked in her tits. Next, she runs her hand up and down my cock like it's a fucking lamp. Jeannie isn't coming out tonight. Stop it. I try to move away and dance with my friends, but she's determined. She forces me to feel her tits. Kinda drunk, and she had big ones, so I felt a little. Then it hit me. I gotta get the fuck out before something nasty happens with this nasty. For the first time in my life, I used the "I'm sorry I'm gay" line. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. Luckily, this gay dude saw me from the bar and said, "Hey honey, come over here with me." Dude was in his 30s or so. He went from super gay to sounding like Barry White when I got over there. "I know you're not gay. Nice dodge. Have a drink." He and his partner paid for my drink. Cool dudes. When I was in college, my girlfriend at the time was a bit shy about sex, and I really wanted to get her to open up a bit more. So one night, I told her that I had a dream where she was really wild in bed, and it was the hottest thing ever. Total lie. I just wanted to plant the idea in her head. She got super curious and kept asking for details. So I made up this elaborate story about her being all confident and kinky. Next thing I know, she's trying to live up to this fake dream version of herself, and we end up having the best sex of our relationship. I felt a little guilty for manipulating her like that, but damn, it worked. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I was at a friend's wedding, got super drunk, and ended up flirting with one of the bridesmaids. She was into me, but she was also engaged. I knew this, but I kept pushing, saying stuff like, "One night won't hurt, no one will know." We ended up sneaking off to a hotel room. The next morning, she was freaking out about cheating on her fiancé, and I just left without saying much. I still feel like a piece of shit for that one. I told the girl I was a professional skateboarder to impress her. I'm not. I can barely stand on a board. She was super into it, invited me to her place to see her skate gear, and we hooked up. She kept asking me to show her tricks the next day, and I had to make up some excuse about a sprained ankle. Never talked to her again. I pretended to be really into this girl's favorite band, which I had never heard of, spent the whole night nodding along while she talked about their music, then went back to her place and had sex. I looked up the band later, and I hated their music. No regrets, though. I let a girl think I was going to move to her city after college, just so she'd sleep with me during a spring break trip. I had no intention of moving there. She kept texting me about visiting after, and I ghosted her. I was 21 and an idiot. I told the girl I was terminally ill to get sympathy sex. I was 19, desperate, and thought it would work. It did. She was really sweet about it, which made me feel even worse. I confessed the truth a week later, and she slapped me and never spoke to me again. Deserved it. I told the girl I was a volunteer at a local animal shelter to seem like a nice guy. Never been near one. She was super into animals, so we bonded over that lie. And it led to us hooking up at her place. She had like 5 cats, and one of them scratched me during sex, which was karma, I guess. Never call her back. I agreed to go to a vegan potluck with a girl I met at a coffee shop, even though I hate vegan food. Pretended to be all into it, ate some weird tofu thing, and we ended up at her place after. The sex was okay, but I snuck out to get a burger at 2 a.m. afterward. Felt like a traitor to meet. I was at a party and told a girl I was a DJ to seem cool. I'm not. I just mess around with GarageBand sometimes. She got really excited, asked me to play something at her place, so I made up an excuse about not having my gear. We still hooked up, but I had to dodge her questions about gigs for the rest of the night. I told the girl I was going to take her on a fancy date to this upscale restaurant I knew I couldn't afford. Made the reservation. Got her all excited, then canceled at the last minute saying I got called into work. Suggested we just chill in my place instead, and we ended up having sex. Never took her to that restaurant. I let a girl crash at my place after a party because she was too drunk to drive home. Knew she was into me, so I played the nice guy, offering her my bed while I took the couch. Ended up accidentally climbing into bed with her later, and we hooked up. Felt a bit scummy afterward. I lied about being a photographer to get a girl to model for me. Told her I was working on a portfolio for a magazine. Got her to my place for a shoot, which was just me with a cheap camera. Things got flirty, and we ended up sleeping together. Never sent her the photos because they were terrible. Got super drunk at a bar and told a girl I was in a band that was about to make it big. Total lie. I can't even play an instrument. She was impressed, invited me to her place, and we had sex. Woke up to her asking when my next gig was, and I had to fake a phone call to get out of there. I told the girl I was allergic to condoms to try to convince her to go without. She didn't buy it, but still slept with me after I found a condom in my wallet. I wasn't proud of that one, and I got tested after just to be safe. Clean, thankfully. I pretended to be really into yoga to hit on a girl in my gym who was a yoga instructor. Signed up for her class, faked my way through it, and asked her out after. We hooked up a few times, but I stopped going to her classes because I couldn't keep up the act. She never found out I hated yoga.